and welcome to Spotlight. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. India's dream and India's farmers' dream for decades have been to increase the amount of wheat we export. And the war between Russia and Ukraine, although horrific in every sense, afforded us this golden opportunity. Russia and Ukraine are the breadbaskets of the world and have been engaged in strife for the last couple of months. But even before that, we saw wheat exports increase like never before. So far, so good. But that's not where the story ends. Amidst this boom, concerns are now rising on how India's wheat production has also fallen. There are several factors of this. Many farmers have shifted from wheat to oilseeds due to better returns. The high temperatures in the month of March have also not helped. On this episode of Spotlight, we're going to be looking at why the rise in exports is now becoming a matter of concern and can we continue to sustain this pace. Before we get to the discussion with our experts, let's take a look at this report.
To understand this potential crisis, first of all, we need to understand where the issues are cropping up. The war between Russia and Ukraine has led to a huge jump in the demand for wheat in other countries. Russia is the third largest producer of wheat in the world and Ukraine the sixth largest. The war between these nations has led to a wheat crisis across the world. And amidst the crisis, India is looking for an opportunity to increase the market for itself. Government sources say that due to the increasing export of wheat, there are apprehensions that its prices will increase in India. At the same time, there is also a possibility that there may be a shortage of wheat in India in the next 3 to 4 years. Now, Commerce Ministry is talking about making a policy for wheat export. Sources say that the government has also been warned about this upcoming situation. Wheat is one of the main crops of India, the most important grain for the country's large population from breakfast to packaged food. If there is a shortage of wheat, it will be no less than a food crisis. But when India is self-sufficient in wheat, how many problems can there be in exporting? Let's understand this through the numbers. India exported about 66 lakh tons of wheat in the financial year 2021-22. In the first 7 months of the last financial year, that is from April to October, wheat exports have seen a jump of over 5 times on a year-on-year. In 2018-19, only 5 lakh tons of wheat was exported. This number is estimated to increase to 120 lakh tons in this financial year. The 10 biggest markets of India's wheat exports include nations like Bangladesh, Nepal, UAE, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Qatar, Oman, Indonesia, and Malaysia. On the other hand, amidst the demand for oilseeds and better prices, many farmers have shifted away from wheat to mustard. And this is also expected to reduce the production. However, the stock is still 2.5 times higher than the government's 74.6 million ton buffer target. But if this trend of exports continue like this and the production decreases, then a crisis is not far away.
Now, to talk about how serious this crisis can get, I'm joined now by Sanjeev Gupta. He's director of BTS Roller Flour Mill. I'm also speaking with Devinder Sharma, a food policy analyst. Welcome to both of you and thank you so much for speaking with us today. Mr. Sharma, let me begin by just getting your sense on what situation we're facing. I mean, we want our farmers to have larger exports, right? The fact that wheat prices right now are much higher than MSP, isn't that a good thing for our Indian farmers?
Well, certainly, the wheat prices being higher than the MSP, I think we couldn't have asked for anything better. And that farmers are delivering, as we all know. And except that there is a shortfall or a drop in wheat yield because of weather. and extreme temperature, as we know, the procurement has been hit. But the bigger challenge is that we need to have food, for our domestic requirements. The quantity of food for our domestic requirement has to be also in those at those levels that we don't have to start worrying. I think that is where the ball is right now. But yes, exports are picking, and we have seen in Punjab, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and the other wheat growing areas, the production have fallen, but the private trade has certainly, been a big buyer this time, providing farmers with a higher price.
It's great for farmers, but now the question is, will it continue to be good for consumers? Mr. Sanjeev Gupta, give us a sense of what the story is at your end and what the pattern has been in wheat prices.
So we are definitely seeing an uptick in the wheat prices compared to last year. We estimate the prices to be higher by about 30%. Consumers will definitely be hit, and we will see an inflation in wheat and wheat products. But at the same time, you need to bear in mind that last year was a little subsidized year, wherein the government was giving us the wheat at one nation, one price policy. So the South and the other non-growing areas were comparatively at ease. So this year, there is definitely going to be an inflation for the consumers, and consumers might have to pay a higher price. But also do bear in mind, Tamanna, that the government provides subsidy to about 800 million people in the country. And so the marginal and the lower section of the population already gets their share of wheat and food products at a lower price. So the inflation really hits only the upper segment of the country, and which should be absorbed, because at the end of the day, farmers need better realization for their products.
But Mr. Gupta, many will agree, many will argue that you're absolutely right. The bottom of the pyramid does get subsidized wheat, but there is a large section of Indians who have been left out of that segment of subsidies, who don't have to pay just high wheat prices. They have to pay higher prices for edible oil. They have to pay higher prices for everything they buy, any kind of commodity, FMCG, petrol, diesel. So it's not as if it's not going to be an issue. But, we're looking at all angles today on Spotlight, as we always do. You're saying the prices will increase. Can you give us a sense that at the retail level, by how much do you see prices increasing?
For sure, we see the prices increasing between 25 to 30%, Tamanna. That's what we are looking at from last year-on-year basis.
In how much time? When do you think this 30% price hike will start settling in?
So we are already currently at about 15 to 20%, Tamanna. And I see in the next couple of months, if this trend continues, I see it very soon, Tamanna, because the government has not been able to procure wheat, so they don't have the buffer to give it to general trade. You might only see the government giving wheat out to the marginal and the bottom of the pyramid section. So we do see this inflation hitting us within the next couple of months itself. So maybe by June, July.
Prices are going to go up even further. Mr. Sharma, now let me come to the export part of the story. And that really is important. It's great that our farmers will get more. It's great that exports and food exports from India increase. And if there is a vacuum in a big supplier not being able to supply for whatever reason, like it is right now because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, it's a great opportunity for India to be able to step in. The question is, can we sustainably do this? Now questions are being raised whether we should start limiting wheat exports, because we have a large population we need to feed.
Well, that, of course, is a very serious concern, that because we have a large population to feed, we have to ensure that we have adequate stock of wheat with us. So that, that consideration apart, I think more important is whether we will be able to sustain the kind of exports that we are having now. I think that's a very difficult question to respond to, because I personally feel that once the war is over and once both the countries start getting back to handling the agriculture in a better position, I don't think that the demand that exists today from India would be maintained or would be sustained at that particular juncture. So I guess it's a period that we can make hay while the sun shines, but eventually we'll be back to square one in the days to come. Once, as you rightly said, the breadbasket of the world, Russia and Ukraine, get back to their normal position. And let's not forget, no country would like to forego its very unique position. considering that 30% of the wheat supply globally came from these two countries, I don't think they're going to give up so easily. And in any case, they have to bring back or to focus on agriculture. Even during the war, they are doing it. And I'm sure once the war is over, they will be back to action.
The other question right now is the impact on what our production has been because of the heat wave. And March, which was terribly hot, has also caused a lot of damage. Can you shed some light on that, Mr. Sharma? Well,
let's be very clear. First of all, when the temperature rose in March, second week after that, this extreme weather conditions actually came at a stage when there is when the wheat plant is ready with what is called as grain filling stage, and so we have seen shriveling taking place and also the lack of luster, as a result of which the yields have come down. In Punjab, according to the crop cutting experiments that have been done by the government, the Department of Agriculture, the yields have come down by 5 quintals per acre. In Haryana also, the yields are down to that level. Now, in both Punjab and Haryana, the important part is that the target for procurement this year was in Punjab was roughly 135 lakh tons, against which now it is expected that we won't be even touching 100 lakh tons. Whereas in Haryana, the target was about 85 lakh tons, and we are still short by, let's say, 40% of what should have been procured. So all I'm saying is there is a gap here, and I think that is what is raising concerns that whether we will be left with adequate food supplies in the months to come. And let's not forget, the weather can go taunt any time. We have seen the weather playing up this time, and who knows what happens in the months to come. And I think that space will have to ensure that we don't lose out if we start exporting more.
Mr. Gupta, your take on the exports, because this is the conundrum right now. Should we continue exporting at this pace or not?
So this is a very difficult question to answer. I think, look, there are two things. We will not be able to export more than about 12 to 14 million tons at any given point of time, because we do have a constraint at our ports. We are not geared up for those kind of exports in our country with regards to wheat. But at the same time, I do feel that this year we should limit our exports, and most of the experts are of the opinion that we should limit this to about 10 million tons, in and around that figure. If we limit to that kind of figure, we will be able to manage our stocks well and feed our people well, and manage the inflation that is happening all around us. Do bear in mind that it's not only wheat that we're looking at. Russia and Ukraine are big exporters of maize as well. So the dynamics of wheat comes to play in maize as well, because you're going to see a shortfall in animal feed, and Indian wheat is priced lower, So I have a fear factor that the Indian wheat might get used as animal feed as well, and the demand might suddenly go up because of lack of maize in the world as well. So couple of dynamics here which are playing, Tamanna.
So then the question is, do you think we need to pare down the pace of exports?
We do need to, or at least we need to put a higher cap to the same. Whether that happens quickly or that happens at the end of the year, I'm not sure, but we need to put a limit to the exports. We need to say that, look, we will take a call after a certain tonnage. Let's say 10 million tons is what most people feel will be comfortable at.
Yeah. Mr. Sharma, the other story is, and this has been said in recommendations by committee after committee, that India's dependence and the amount of acreage that Indian farmers utilize in wheat needs to be decreased. When we were talking recently, and I had a chance to have a conversation with you about our lack of oilseed coverage and Atmanirbharta and oilseeds, we talked about how farmers need to grow more oilseeds. Now, as they've been moving to these other more lucrative crops, wheat has been suffering. Do you think that this also will hurt us?
Well, I think the crisis that we see in edible oil should be a big lesson for us. When at a time when all countries or most countries are withdrawing into a shell, there's a protectionism happening all across, and we have seen what happened in Indonesia. And so on. So I think the message here is very clear that we should be moving towards, as you rightly said, towards Atmanirbharta in edible oils. And as I said earlier also in one of the interviews with you, that, let's not forget that India had actually tried that in the mid-1980s when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister, and he launched what is called as the Oilseed Technology Mission. And in the next 10 years, we were almost self-sufficient in edible oils. 97% of edible oil was being produced within the country. Now today we are in a position when 55% of edible oil is being imported at a price of roughly 75,000 crores or more. So the question is, why don't we pay that price to our farmers? So your question in the very beginning, I think, is very crucial, because farmers can do it. Why, if we were to give an adequate price, let's say for sunflower or for mustard and so on, Punjab farmers alone can deliver a lot, because there's a need to diversify from the intensive crop rotation that we have wheat and paddy, and there has always been an issue along with water.
Wheat farmers also get blamed for the pollution that hits the capital every winter season, every Diwali season. So the wheat farmers get blamed for that because they burn the husk, and they get blamed also for the falling water table in the state of Punjab and in surrounding areas. So all of these dynamics come in, and the long-term plan has been to reduce the dependency on wheat. Now we're wondering whether that's the right direction to take. So from a policy perspective, Mr. Sharma, if you could just underline this, that should we then continue on that path of reducing the dependency of farmers on wheat, or looking at the situation right now, increase it?
Well, let's be very clear that before the war, and let's say last year, before we started distributing surplus grain to the poor, we had almost a surplus of about 100 million tons of wheat and paddy with us. And everyone was actually lashing out at Punjab farmers or Haryana farmers for producing a surplus given the MSP that they get, and so on. But suddenly now, of course, the focus has shifted to exports. But I think more important here would be to draw up a kind of a production program where we ensure that at least the adequate area is diverted towards, as you rightly said, to edible oils and the other crops. Now, this is possible. There is no denying that it can't be done. I think we should learn a lesson, as I said earlier. This lesson should now be very clear and very loud before us, that we need to become Atmanirbhar as far as edible oils are concerned. And we are in a position, we are capable of doing that. We have such a wonderful array of edible oil crops within, or oilseed crops cultivated within the country. And we can definitely come up with location-specific programs to do that. So there should be a focus to move away from wheat and paddy, because that is what, as you rightly said, the intensive cultivation practices have brought in the kind of environmental damages or environmental, disaster that we are facing, or we are looking forward to, as far as the water especially is concerned, the depletion of water or the underground water.
Mr. Gupta, just on the question of the direction of farmers for wheat, do you think we will be seeing now more interest in wheat, more acreage under wheat from the current circumstances?
I don't think so. I think the farmers are making a conscious effort to shift to oil and oilseeds, because they see better value there, and they're getting a better realization in these products. So I don't think the wheat acreage is going to increase significantly. And you can see this in the last 2 years, that the acreage has been going down slowly, not sharply, but slowly it's been going down. And this year as well, the oil seeds have given them plenty. So let us see. I still think that the farmers are good, and with the social media, they're able to realize better value for their crops, and we will see a downward shift of acreage for sure.
So it's a big story which will develop over time. It's great for wheat farmers, and that something we should celebrate. Consumers are going to feel the pinch. There's already an increase of 15 to 20% on wheat and on flour. This will get even sharper over the next couple of months. Wheat exports are booming, but they can't possibly sustain at these levels when you've had the crop also suffering due to a heat wave. Obviously, the priority will be to feed Indians first. Thank you to both of you for joining us on this edition of Spotlight and helping us break down this very big story that is developing around us.
Thank you.